Let's start with Gilbert Arenas, a player whose decision to bring firearms into an NBA locker room marked one of the most infamous moments in league history. It all began with a threat. "Javaris, listen bro. I'll shoot you in your face. I'll shoot you in your knee." That chilling line wasn't part of a movie, it was real life. And it marked the turning point for a player whose career had already been teetering on the edge. But Arenas isn't alone. This is the story of NBA players who single-handedly destroyed their own careers through personal choices and actions. First, we begin with perhaps the most tragic tale in NBA history, of the story of Len Bias. Imagine being 22 years old and just getting drafted second overall by one of the most storied franchises in basketball history, the Boston Celtics, a team led by legends like Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish. You're hailed as the next Michael Jordan, maybe even better. Scouts, coaches, and analysts believe you are the future of the league. Your life is about to change forever. That was the reality for Len Bias on June 17, 1986, a college standout at the University of Maryland. Bias had just led his team to the Elite Eight and was riding high after a sensational season. The 6'8" forward had dominated college basketball, with one of his most iconic performances coming against Duke, where he dropped a career-high 41 points, showcasing his unbelievable skill and potential. But the dream came to a sudden, devastating halt, just 48 hours after being drafted. Len Bias died from a cocaine overdose on June 19, 1986. He never played a single minute in the NBA. The news sent shockwaves through not just the basketball world, but the entire sports landscape. University of Maryland Athletic Director Dick Dull summed up the magnitude of the tragedy when he said, "I've been here 10 years, and to say this is the saddest, darkest experience of my life would be an understatement." Teammates were heartbroken, grieving the loss of a friend and future legend, and the deeper you dig into the circumstances of Bias's death, the more disturbing the story becomes. Investigations later revealed that Bias was 21 credits short of graduation, raising red flags about the lack of academic oversight at Maryland. Even worse were the allegations that followed. Reports surfaced claiming head coach Lefty Driesel had told players to remove drugs from Bias's dorm room before authorities could investigate. These actions ultimately led to Driesel's resignation, as well as that of the athletic director. Len Bias wasn't just another talented college athlete. He was viewed as a once-in-a-generation player who could have changed the course of NBA history. With Bias, the already dominant Celtics might have extended their dynasty well into the 1990s. If Len Bias's tragedy was a sudden, heartbreaking collapse, the next player's downfall was a slow and painful unraveling. Chris Washburn, drafted third overall in the same 1986 NBA draft, was a 6 feet 11 inches center from NC State, touted as one of the most promising big men in his class. The '86 draft was stacked with talent, and Washburn was seen as a foundational piece for the Golden State Warriors. But red flags started popping up almost immediately after he entered the league. His addiction to cocaine quickly became public knowledge, leading to poor performances and increasing issues off the court. Even more alarming is how the system failed Washburn long before he ever wore an NBA jersey. Years later, Washburn would expose the academic fraud that allowed him to play in college. He admitted, "The coaches told me, you've already signed, you're already in school, you just have to take the test to get into college. They told me it didn't matter what score I got. So I went in, spent about 22 minutes, and just randomly marked answers." This confession revealed a broken system that prioritized athletic ability over education and personal growth, effectively setting him up for failure. Washburn first tried cocaine at 19. Despite having only one solid season of college basketball, he declared for the draft. Back then, being among the top 70 players selected meant a guaranteed contract, and despite all the red flags, Washburn was taken third overall. His NBA career, however, was a disaster. He played just 72 games over 2 seasons with the Warriors and later, the Hawks. After failing 3 drug tests for cocaine, he was banned from the NBA in 1989. His stats tell the story. He never averaged more than 3.1 points per game during his short career. But what makes Washburn's story stand out isn't just the fall, it's the comeback. He's been clean for over 24 years and now serves as a motivational speaker and life coach, using his painful past to steer others away from similar mistakes. "I stayed in the streets for 14 years, getting high," he shared. In 2000, when his father lay dying from cancer, he realized he needed to change. "I went to that funeral with my pipe in my pocket," he admitted. "Before we closed the casket, I put my pipe in my dad's jacket pocket." That moment marked the end of his addiction. In 2021, he began a new chapter and never looked back. Washburn's collapse was devastating, but the next player's descent was even more public and louder. Michael Ray Richardson. The 1970s and 80s were a dark time for the NBA, as drug use threatened to ruin the league's reputation. No player personified this crisis more than Richardson. a gifted guard whose addiction cost him a shot at the Hall of Fame. Drafted 4th overall by the New York Knicks in 1978, Richardson quickly made a name for himself. He became a 4-time All-Star, led the league in steals 3 times, and posted a phenomenal 1984-85 season with the New Jersey Nets averaging 20.1 points, 8.2 assists, 5.6 rebounds, and 3.0 steals per game. Richardson possessed a rare combination of size, speed, and basketball IQ. When he was focused and sober, he was nearly unstoppable. He could run the offense, guard multiple positions, and completely disrupt opposing offenses with his anticipation and quick hands. In many ways, he was ahead of his time, a versatile dual guard. Reflecting on his career, Richardson said, "Back then, there was Magic. Then there was Isaiah, and they were getting all the press. I came from a small college and didn't get much attention early on, so every time I played against them, I brought my agami to prove how good I really was." But his cocaine use became impossible to ignore. In 1986, Richardson became the first active NBA player banned for life after failing 3 drug tests. The league was stunned. His ban served as a sobering reminder of how deep the drug problem ran. What added to the controversy were Richardson's claims of unfair treatment. He argued that his punishment was harsher than what others received specifically, referencing Chris Mullin's struggles with alcoholism and suggested racial bias was at play. He also became embroiled in controversy over alleged anti-Semitic remarks, though some attributed the comments to misunderstandings rooted in his background and education. By 1988, Richardson was reinstated by the NBA, but he never returned to the league. Instead, he built a successful career overseas, especially in Europe, where he earned 6-figure tax-free salaries and became a star all over again. The move helped him rebuild both his career and his personal life. While Richardson's fall shook the league, the next scandal didn't just end a career, it involved actual weapons. Enter Gilbert Arenas. Drafted 31st overall in 2001 by the Golden State Warriors, Arenas became one of the biggest steals in NBA draft history. Though a second-round pick, he blossomed into one of the league's most electrifying scorers. A 3-time All-Star with the Washington Wizards, he led the league in scoring during the 2005-06 season. Arenas was known for his deep shooting range, confidence, and ability to hit clutch shots. He loved the spotlight and never backed down from big moments, often pushing the line between boldness and arrogance. But everything changed in the 2009-10 season, when a casual card game during a team flight turned into one of the most shocking scandals in NBA history. According to Arenas, the game began with Javaris Crittenton, Earl Boykins, and another teammate. It started small, just a friendly poker game, nothing major. We were coming back from the West, probably Phoenix, Arenas recalled. It was a long flight, and a $10 or $20 hand game gets boring, so I went to sleep. But the game they played, called Beret, a high-stakes poker variant popular among NBA players, would end up igniting a controversy no one could have predicted. Asterisk did. Asterisk,